In order for amusement parks to operate competitively, they typically develop a long-term plan to determine what new additions or enhancements will appeal for guests. In this video, I am going to predict Kennywood's 5-year plan from 2021 to 2025.
Now, I'm not going to go crazy with this 5-year plan. I'm going to try to keep it realistic. Well, I think Kennywood is going to build a strata coaster that will interact with an on-site hotel that will have monorail access to the front entrance. I'm not going that far. So in order to make realistic predictions, we first have to look at the last 5 years to see what kind of additions Kennywood is willing to invest in.
In 2016, Noah's Ark received a major refurbishment, most notably bringing back the whale. 2017 wasn't a huge year for additions. It was mainly about minor park enhancements. We did get a new Lego movie in the 4D theater, which did open in 2015, but that was pretty much it. The most notable change that year was the closure of the log jammer. 2018 saw a major new expansion with Thomastown. 4 new kiddie rides, a show, an indoor playground, a gift shop, and a Thomas overlay of the old Kennywood Railroad. Definitely a big year. But the following year in 2019 saw yet an even bigger expansion. Steelers Country officially opened. Well, I should say partly opened. The indoor Steelers experience didn't finish. The End Zone Cafe and surrounding Midway games didn't open up until late in the season. But that didn't matter too much, since Steel Curtain, the record-breaking hypercoaster, opened in July that year with great response. Now that brings us to 2020. First off, we may not even know if Kennywood is going to be open this summer, but the original plans were for the Steelers experience to finally open, as well as a major refurb and retheme of Garfield's Nightmare back into the old mill.
So now that we know what Kennywood added in the last 5 years, let's look ahead on what they could possibly add in the next 5 years.
So, starting off in 2021, it looks really uncertain. Because of the current pandemic, we really don't know what will happen in the immediate future. I think any possible plans that were scheduled for next year will most likely be postponed. I am not expecting anything new. I think marketing will still focus on the old mill and the Steelers experience, mainly because they won't have a full season this year. Since this would be considered an off year, I would expect at the most general park improvements. Now, Phantom's Revenge will celebrate its 20th birthday this year, so maybe something will be done about that. I would personally love if the ride would get a fresh coat of paint, because if you have been to Kennywood in the last couple years, you know how much it needs it. Then we go into 2022. Since the old mill and the Steelers experience are more geared towards families, I think it would be time for a new major thrill ride. While I would personally love to see a new drop tower like the old Pitfall, I don't think that will happen. Instead, another tower ride, like a Funtime Starflyer, would be a great fit. Can you imagine the views up there? I think that would be excellent. Now, I'm not sure about the wind currents coming up from the river, but that could limit Kennywood from building something like this. If that is the case, a smaller scale flat ride would have to do. An option I have in mind is a Zamperla air race. It would add a lot of thrills and kinetic energy to the Midway. Any one of these would be suitable thrill rides. 2023. Since the past year was about thrills, why don't we go back to the families? I predict something classic and traditional. How about Kennywood brings back a Tilt-A-Whirl? And since a new ride has not been put into Steelers Country since 2019, how about you put it in there? Can you imagine a Tilt-A-Whirl themed to spinning football helmets? I think that would be very cute. Other possibilities for a family ride can be a classic scrambler or even a troika. Regardless on whatever it is, a new ride that everyone can enjoy would be a nice, small, but essential addition for this season. Since the last 2 years saw a new ride, it would be about time for Kennywood to take another off year. In 2024, I don't see any new rides coming, but rather another dark ride refurbishment. 2024 would fall on the 4-year trend of dark ride refurbs. Remember, in 2016, Noah's Ark got the treatment. 4 years later, in 2020, Old Mill got it. 4 years after that would be 2024. But what dark ride? How about Exterminator? Not only will it celebrate its 25th birthday, but it's also one of Kennywood's most popular rides, period. They could enhance the special effects they already have, but they could also add in new ones. And that brings us to 2025, the final year in the 5-year plan. Since last season didn't see any new additions, it would prep for a larger investment for 2025. What could it be? How about a brand new roller coaster? I don't think this is too unrealistic. At this point, it would have been 6 years since Steel Curtain. It would, however, break the 9-year trend that Kennywood seems to follow for new coasters. In 2001, Phantom's Revenge. 9 years later, in 2010, Skyrocket. 9 years after that, Steel Curtain in 2019. Now, following that trend, we may not see a new coaster until 2028, but I have a gut feeling that a new coaster will come sooner. So, in 2025, I am making the bold prediction that Kennywood will receive a big coaster going down the ravine parallel to Racer and Steel Curtain. A little while ago, we saw some blueprints of a coaster going down into that same ravine. Plans changed and we got Steel Curtain instead. But a redesign is still possible. Now, I don't want to get carried away, so I'm just going to leave with a couple possibilities. Probably the frontrunner is an RMC topper track wooden coaster or an iBox hybrid. I know that is what I personally would like to see. Another alternative could be a modern wooden coaster from Gravity Group or GCI. Kennywood is also lacking an inverted coaster, so a next-gen invert from Vekoma could be up in the air.
Now, the future of the amusement industry could completely change, and this 5-year plan can be thrown out the window. But hey, one can dream. I want to hear from you guys. What do you think Kennywood will be adding in the near future? What is your 5-year plans? Please let me know down in the comments. Consider liking this video and subscribing for more content. And with that being said, thank you all for riding, and I'll see you next time.